Hello and welcome back to my channel. Let's talk about the time that my camp counselor DM'd me as soon as I turned 18. Real Drizzy style. So, when I was 13 years old, I went on a school trip. This school trip was going to be going to space camp. This school trip was going to be in Istanbul, Turkey, and we were going to be going to space camp. Considering I went to school in the Middle East, going to Istanbul really wasn't a hard thing, and it wasn't even an expensive thing. It was only like a 2 or 3 hour plane ride, so it was a very affordable school trip, and I was super excited to go as I'd always wanted to go to Turkey. And not only that, I thought space and robotics and stuff was really cool, even if I didn't have the math skills to back it up. So I convinced my parents to let me go on the school trip, and they just let me go. This school trip was a big fucking deal for me. I finally got to be independent, alone. Albeit I was going to be with all my classmates and like 7 teachers, still, it felt like I was getting a little bit of independence for the first time in my life. So we land in Istanbul. I'm super excited. We're buying stuff from the markets. We're buying like Turkish delights. We're buying like jewelry. We're buying gifts for people back home. And actually, I had a crush on this boy back home. I'm not going to say his name, but he had a Minecraft YouTube channel. So when we stopped at the markets on our way to the space camp, I got him a wood-burned keychain with his Minecraft YouTube channel name. If you're watching this now and you remember me giving that to you, I'm sorry. That was a mistake, but I hope you liked it. So we moved on from the markets. I had bought some weird ponytail extensions to give myself pigtails. I was living it up. We were in the bus. I was so happy. I was so incredibly happy that I got to do this and have this experience. So we get to the space camp, and the dorms are divided by boys and girls, right? The girls' dorm is literally just one room where every single girl who came on the trip sleeps, and we had bunk beds. Yeah, it was bunk beds in this weird like warehouse type of room. So we went in there to sleep, and then the next day we finally started our day, and it was very fun. The cafeteria food was good. We got to see a lot of Turkey. But, of course, the first thing that we were introduced to was actually our camp counselors. So at this space camp, most of the camp counselors were foreigners, Americans, maybe from other Western countries too. There were a couple Americans, a couple other nationality people, and actually a couple of Turkish people as well. So those were our camp counselors. And we had 3 American counselors. One lady, I cannot quite remember her name, to be honest with you. And then we had another American guy, and then we had the third American guy. This man was from Kentucky. If you watched my first video, you would know that I am half Tennessean. I am half Egyptian, half Tennessean, right? So we got along because he was like, oh, Kentucky is right above Tennessee. And I was like, I don't even live in Tennessee, but I have this weird pride about Tennessee and the country. So I was just really excited that I had someone to relate to on that front, even though I had not lived in Tennessee for that long, like 1 to 2 years. So I had this pride, and I was really happy to find another person who related. This camp counselor, let's give him a name. I'm not going to say his real name because I don't know if this counts as defamation, but it happened, buddy, so I don't know what to tell you. So I'm going to choose another name, just as generic as his regular name, but different. So I've decided we're going to call him Jared. You might know other Jareds that are also interested in the same type of stuff that he's interested in, if you get my drift. So Jared, I met Jared and I was so happy to meet him. And actually, because I was 13 years old, I had a tiny bit of a crush on him. He was tall, ginger, and a little built. And actually, every other girl there also had a crush on this camp counselor. This is actually a very common thing for children to do. You see an adult that you look up to, and sometimes you confuse that emotion with maybe, do I have a crush on this? Especially if they're of the opposite gender. I looked up to him because we were from a similar area. He was cool. I was 13. He wasn't cool, but I was 13, so I thought he was really cool. And he was very smart because he was working at a space camp. So I thought it was cool. We would do the banter. But the thing is with Jared is I wasn't the only girl, 13-year-old girl, that he would have banter with. Definitely not the only one. There were actually thousands of 13-year-old girls coming through that space camp all year long from all different countries. Some from Turkey, some from Venezuela. Who knows? They're from everywhere. And he gets to meet thousands of 13-year-old girls, right? And I'm not saying this to knock the space camp. It was one of the best memories of my entire life. Like, I had such a terrible home life. So when I got the opportunity to finally go on one of these school trips, they would have one every year. And this was the very first one I ever got to go on. So excited and so happy to be there. And I was so grateful to be there. I was so grateful that my parents let me go and also paid for it. Yeah, that's just what I want to say about that, because I don't want to say I'm bashing any other camp counselors. They were really nice. That is not what I'm trying to do here. I'm just talking about Jared. So Jared and me, we build like a bond by the end of the trip. It's basically just banter and stuff like that. So at the end of the trip, we go back to the markets that we visited in the beginning of the trip. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to buy him a gift. I also want to set the scene. It wasn't in Istanbul. It was in Izmir, which is not that far from Istanbul, but it's not in Istanbul. It is another city in Turkey. But we did fly into Istanbul. I just wanted to clarify that real quick. So we go to the Izmir market, and I buy him a lollipop with like a heart on it. I'm 13. It's a pink, cute heart lollipop. I think it's cute. It's obviously not right. But a camp counselor should know. They should know better, right? They should know better, right? I think it's the adult's responsibility. I'm not going to blame 13-year-old me. And if you are ever in a situation like this, don't blame 13-year-old you. It's not your fault. You're a child. On his Instagram, there are hundreds of kids that he's taking pictures with. Of course, he's a camp counselor. That's his thing. And I get it. It's fine. But it also feels a little weird now. So he had thousands of pictures, whatever. Mostly posing with the girls. Okay, sure. I give him that lollipop. It's the end of the trip. I go home. The next year, I go back. There's another Turkey trip with the grade below, and they're asking like, hey, we're opening spots, like if you're in any other grade. And I was just in the grade right above them. So I was like, okay, there's no school trip for us this year. I want to go back to space camp. It was fun. I want to revisit Jared, say hi to him again, see what he's up to. I want to see everyone else. And I just want to be in the simulation spaceship again. I want to do all the gravity thing. I want to do it all again. Also, the cafeteria food was delicious. We got to see beautiful, beautiful mountain villages in Turkey and all kinds of amazing like landmarks. Dude, it was beautiful, but I wanted to go again. Yeah, of course I wanted to go again. So I went again. So I show up, and of course Jared is like, whoa, you're back. Like, what's up? I'm like, yeah, I'm back. I just decided to come back because I could. I was given permission to go on this trip too. And I was just really happy that I was able to go back. And this trip is a little different. Me and Jared are a little closer than we were before because we already knew each other. There was a weird feeling there. We go to this like ancient landmark. And when we're there, we're talking about, he's wearing like a shirt with Kentucky's flag on it. And it says like home, right? Because he's from the Kentucky. And we're talking about Kentucky and Tennessee, and eventually we start talking about country music. And I start talking about Dolly Parton because I really loved Dolly Parton, especially at this age. I was actually just getting into Dolly Parton, which is so weird to think about because Dolly Parton has been a thing forever. But I was 13 and just getting into Dolly Parton, just getting into that Southern pride. I was really into that. I had like, the American flag was my Facebook banner, bro. I had this like cutesy American flag, but I also really liked Japan at this point. So I was like, my profile picture would be like me with a Hello Kitty hair clip in, and then my banner would be like the American flag with sparkles. Yeah, that was that. But so we start talking about Dolly Parton, and I'm like, I love Dolly Parton. Like, what's your favorite song? And as we're walking in this ancient landmark, it's literally like the kids are all spread out, and we're walking with our friends, or I was walking with my favorite camp counselor, so that's who I was walking with. He starts singing the song, Islands in the Stream. If you don't know this song, this is a duet with Dolly Parton and, if I'm not mistaken, Kenny Rogers. They do a duet, and this is a love duet. I will give you a little sample. Islands in the stream, that is what we are. Nothing in between. Where could we go wrong? Sail away with me to another world where we rely on each other. Whoa. And I think they say they're making love with one another. Uh-oh. So I think he's singing that, and he wants me to do the duet with him. I still don't know that song. I didn't know that song at 13. I was real into Dolly Parton's first album. That's all I would listen to. So I would be like listening to the most obscure random Dolly Parton songs, and I didn't even know this one. So he was trying to get me to sing a duet about lovers when I was 14 at this point, right? So I didn't know the song. Thankfully, I didn't sing that duet with him. That would have been strange. Get on the bus. We're hanging out for the rest of the trip. Basically, I'm hanging out with him for the rest of the trip. That's what's going on. And then when I get home, I'm back. I live in Qatar, which is in the Middle East, if you don't know that country. It is near Dubai, but it is basically the country that tries to be Dubai but can never be Dubai. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're not as bougie as Dubai. So I go back where I was living, and I have his Instagram. I have his Instagram, correct? You guys remember how I have his Instagram? Okay. So I'm 14 years old, and I have his Instagram, and he's texting me a lot. And he's saying, like, joking with me, constantly texting me. We're talking all the time, whenever we can. Facebook Messenger, too. Right. I'm 14. He's in his late 20s, maybe he's in his 30s. And he's like sending me pics, not any weird pics or anything, just like stuff that was a little over the line. It was just conversations that were a little over the line to be having with a child. There was that weird power struggle going on that I don't think it's appropriate to be texting like that. But at that time, I was a child, so I thought, okay, he's my friend. It's okay to have friends who are older than you. I'm mature for my age. I think I'm built different. I'm not like y'all. I can talk to adults. They're just like me. No, they're not. They're really not. But I don't learn that until much later. When I'm 16, my dad takes us on a trip to where, can you guess? Can you guess where? Turkey. We go to Turkey when I'm 16. So we go on a trip to Turkey, and you might be thinking, damn, you go to Turkey a lot. Like, it's basically like you're going to Turkey just to see him. No, my dad wanted to go to Turkey. He said, we're going all around Turkey. I was like, okay, I'll go to Turkey. I love Turkey. I love their food. I love their culture. I love their language. I love their music. I love Turkey. I identified as a Turkey-aboo, like a Korea-boo, but for Turkey for a little bit there. I was very obsessed with Turkey. Shout out to Turkey. But besides Turkey, so we go to Turkey. Turkey. Go to Turkey. And we're driving around the whole country. We're going everywhere. And that's including Izmir, where the space camp was. And we're in this hotel in Izmir. And I send a message to my camp counselor. I say, hey, guess what? I'm in Turkey right now. I just want to let you know. How are you, by the way? Because I am 16. I still have a weird crush on my camp counselor. I still don't blame myself because I was a child. Me now would never. But I was a kid. I didn't really get it. I was a lonely kid. I'm going to give myself grace for that. And then he's like, yeah, I am in Turkey, actually. What's up with you? Why are you in Turkey? And I was like, my dad just wanted to take us on a trip to Turkey, so I'm here. And then he goes, so, how old are you now? The golden question. Jared's golden question. How old are you now? And I say, I'm 16. He goes, oh, man, you're 16. You're not 18 yet. I wanted to take you to a bar. This man wanted to take me, a 16-year-old, or a child he liked that turned 18, to a bar to go drinking with him at night. So I feel like that's already a red flag, right? I feel like we're getting to that point where we're like, oh, what's going on? And he's also liking and bookmarking my Instagram photos of me like wearing sleeveless dress. I'm wearing a dress with no sleeves. Or I'm wearing makeup, and he's like, bookmark and like. So there's that. So there was a few red flags leading up to this very moment. Guys, the climax is coming up this very moment. Let's fast forward to about 2019. 2019, right before COVID, I am literally 18 years old, and I have moved to America to go to high school, or finish high school, rather. I am a junior, and I'm in my junior year of high school for the second time of my life in America. Okay, so I'm in America, and I'm just chilling. I'm 18, finally turned 18, right? And I get a message from Jared. Oh my God, I get a message from Jared. He is literally like, I feel like he wrote the playbook for Drake. I feel like he really wrote the playbook for Drake. Like, they must know each other and like take notes and bounce off each other's energy because they just really know how to do this specific thing to young girls who turn 18. It's like they have an alarm clock set up, like just a timer counting down the very seconds and minutes until you are ripe and 18. But so he texts me and we start talking about the good old days, space camp. And I'm thinking, cool. And then he is like WhatsApping me and he's like, let's get on a phone call right now. Like, let's talk. And I'm like, okay, let's talk. Like, I have not heard your voice since I was 13 years old. So I get on the phone call and we're talking about space camp and the good old days. And we're talking about all the things that we saw. And I'm asking him, like, how does it feel to not, like, work there anymore? And blah, 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 blah. Right. So the conversation goes on and it's seemingly normal to a point. And that point is when he starts making it a little sussy, a little weird. So we're talking about how they have those simulation spaceships at space camp, where it's like you're in a real spaceship and you have to like press the buttons and pretend you're an astronaut. Yeah, landing on the moon and stuff. So that was really fun for me. It was super confusing because there were so many fucking buttons, but it was really fun. So we're talking about that. And he's like, yeah, I always imagined effing you in that simulation ship. Wouldn't that be so fun if we could go there and I would have effed you. I could have effed you in that space simulation ship. And I'm thinking in my head, does he mean when I was 13? That's a bit weird. Like, when are you talking about exactly? And isn't that facility for children? Isn't that a place where children learn about space? And like, isn't that a bit strange? But I don't say that because I'm like, oh, you're gonna be creepy. Now I catch you. I caught you. So I caught his ass. So I'm egging Jared on, to be honest, because I want to hear the extent of what he will say. And he says it all, guys. He says it all. He says it all. It's like I was completely right about he's waiting until I was 18 to say this horrid stuff to me. He's saying it all, guys. He's exposing himself in the truest fashion. So he starts telling me about his dating life and his sex life, and he's asking me if I'm hooking up with people now that I'm 18, and I'm like, yeah. People were really on their hoe face shit, so I was like, yep, sure. Also to keep the conversation going, but I was 18 at that point, so yes, I was. And he starts talking about how the women he has had sex with are horrible, and he started rating them by nationality. He was like, Russian chicks, they just lay there and take it like a dead fish. Also, keep in mind, while I was going to space camp, he had a girlfriend. He had a Turkish girlfriend. She was blonde. I thought she was Russian. She might be like Russian, Turkish, like, ancestry. I really hope he was not talking about her because she was a very, very nice person. And I feel like she would have been sick hearing him say something like that, especially to someone he knew who was a kid. At the time of meeting them. But so he told me that, and how different women of different nationalities are more or less energetic or pleasurable in bed. And he was kind of insinuating, like, well, how would you be? You know what I mean? So he was saying a lot of things like that, just strange sexual things, asking me if I would do things with him in certain situations. And at some point I was like, okay, like at that point I'm getting really uncomfortable. And I don't really want to talk about this stuff anymore, even for the means of exposing him. So I didn't, like, do it to the full extent. After a few days, I was like, wow, I've got to say something. So I just sent him a message that said, wow, you're a fucking creep. He read that message and started to delete all the message conversations, block on Facebook, block on everywhere. He blocked me on every single last thing. I could not figure out how to contact him to this day. I could not even figure out how to send a fucking letter. Letter? Why would I send him a letter? But you know what I mean? I can't contact him at all. I can't do anything about it. I can't tell anyone else that he worked with. So, you know, if you worked at a space camp in Izmir, your coworker is a pedo. Your coworker is a pedo. Your coworker is a pedo. And I'm sorry to tell you that. But obviously one of you had to be. I know that's harsh, but I feel like that's another thing that I don't like, is that in establishments for children, there's always ways for those evil people to sneak in and just be around children all day, and God forbid, corrupt children. So that is the story of how my camp counselor groomed me. And Jared, if you happen to come across this video, I hope you're thinking about why you would do such a thing. And also, I hope your dick gets cut off. Your genitals. I hope your genitals are cut off. And what is it called when they take off your testes? I hope that happens to you. And I hope you talk with a voice like this for the rest of your life afterwards. Yeah, that's basically it. So that's the story of how my camp counselor groomed me. And I just want to say as a disclaimer, please look out. If you have younger siblings, look out for them. Obviously, I was the oldest, so yeah. But even if you have kids, please look out for them. Be aware of what they're doing on the internet. Be aware of the adults that they befriend and how close they're befriending them. And that's all I just wanted to say. So thank you so much for watching my video. And I'll see you next time. Yeah.